Hey, good evening, guys. Tush coming back at you. It's 7:45 on Friday, June the 24th. That's 7:45 in the PM. And we're back working on the TR6 tonight. And as you can see, I've got the valve cover off. So we're going to play around with adjusting the valves. When I started her up and took her around the block yesterday, she was a little noisy. So I'm going to set the valves tonight. So I've got the manuals out at the back here on the valve setting procedure. I've got both the Haynes and the Bentley here, and they're quite identical actually as how to check and adjust the valve clearances on this car. And the valve clearances are set cold on this car to 0.010. So I use obviously a feeler gauge to do that. So we're going to do that shortly. Maybe I'll sort of take you along on how I do the valves. There's a number of different ways you can do them, but I'll show you how I do them, or at least I'll try to show you how I do them. And I'm also going to do a little bit of cleaning, because this is bugging me over here. I've got some rusty nuts from where the car was sitting over the winter time. You can see that one's pretty rusty there. So I've gone ahead and cleaned this one up already, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but I don't like to see rust, so that's definitely got to go. So got a few nuts to clean up just with a wire brush, and we'll reinstall those. And I figured I'd just do that while we were adjusting the valves. Anyway, that's it for now. We'll come back. Alright guys, we're just going to start to do the valve adjustment process, or valve clearance adjustment. So basically all you need as far as tools are you need a 1/2-inch wrench, you need a feeler gauge. This is 0.010, as I mentioned. I've got a couple different styles, the flat, and then we've got an angled one. Then you need just a big flat bladed screwdriver. So those are the tools that are required to adjust your valves. So we're going to follow the Bentley process. There's a couple different ways you can do valve clearance adjustment. I find it easiest just to follow the Bentley. There is I think it's a rule of 9 for 4-cylinder engines. There's a rule of 13 for 6-cylinder engines. I just prefer to follow the Bentley as far as adjusting the valves. But do as you wish, whatever makes you comfortable. This is what makes me comfortable. So what I've got going on here is I've already removed the valve cover, or rocker cover as they call it. We're going to count valves from the front of the engine, so 1 being at the front and 12 being at the rear, closest to the battery. So just so you know how I'm counting these. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to turn the crankshaft until numbers 10 and 12 valves are open, which means the springs will be fully compressed. The way I do that is I just simply grab the fan and crank it over until those valves are compressed. So sometimes it's easier if you remove the spark plugs. I don't seem to have too much of an issue rotating the engine by hand just with the fan, but do as you wish. Some people roll the car, some people bump the starter, but I find it easy enough just to grab the fan. I guess if you have an electric fan, then you probably have to put a big breaker bar on the crank nut or crank pulley or something like that. But I don't have an electric fan on this car. I'm still running the mechanical fan, so we'll just grab a hold of that. All right, we're going to do those valves. See if I can get a shot of this. Like again, I'm just cranking on the fan here, so I want you to watch 10 and 12. So 10 and 12 are on their way down and opening. So let's see if I can pull on the fan a bit more, and you can see those valves move down, hopefully. So those valves are fully open, springs are fully compressed. So that's 10 and 12 compressed. So what we want to do now, if we go back to our manual, we want to check numbers 1 and 3 valves. It says using a feeler gauge, check the gap between the rocker pad and the valve tip, and numbers 1 and 3. So we're going to do that. So we're looking at 1 and 3. All right. Just a little tip too, when you're working on the valves 1 and 3, you should see that they'll actually rock a little bit. You can probably hear that. You may not be able to see the movement, but you can actually see they're rocking a little bit. So that's a good indication that those valves are ready to be adjusted. Difficult to film this, but we just want to make sure that you've got clearances. So I've got my feeler gauge here, and we're just going to stick it between the rocker and the valve, and you're just going to slide it in, and you'll feel a little bit of resistance as it goes in. And you want to check number 1 as well. If you can get a feeler gauge in there with a little bit of resistance, then you're good to go, and you want to move on to the next set. Alright, so now that 1 and 3 valves, we've checked those, and we've checked the gap, and they're okay. So we are now going to check valves number 8 and 11 with numbers 2 and 5 valves open. So springs compressed, we're going to check 8 and 11. So number 2 and 5 valves are open, so springs compressed. And we are going to check valves number, according to the book, 8 and 11. Right, so counting from the front, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take your feeler gauge, slide it in there. There's a little resistance, not quite as much as the first set. And we're going to go to 11, 9, 10, 11. And this one has a significant, you can see how easily that slides in there. So that definitely needs to be adjusted. So what we're going to do is we're going to slacken the lock nut on the top, and we're going to turn the adjuster with a screwdriver, and we're going to hold the lock nut, or sorry, hold the adjuster and tighten the lock nut after we adjust that gap. Alright? Let me see if I can do it one-handed. 1/2 inch wrench on the adjuster, slacken it off, no, can't do it one-handed. We'll come back after you've adjusted the valve. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hold the adjustment screw while tightening the lock nut. So I need 2 hands to do that, unfortunately, so I'm going to stick the screwdriver in there and turn the nut, and then we're going to recheck the clearance after I've tightened it up and make sure that nothing's changed. Moving on, so we want to see 7 and 9 valves open, so springs fully compressed, and we're going to adjust valves number 4 and 6. Right, 7 and 9 fully open, springs compressed. Adjust valves numbers 4 and 6. So we're looking at 4 and 6. Here's 4, and you can see how easily that feeler gauge slides in there. So we need to adjust 4 and 6. 6 is not bad. Got some resistance there. Doesn't go in easily, so we'll probably be okay with that one. Definitely going to adjust 4. Right. 4 and 6 are adjusted. Now we're going to check and adjust numbers 10 and 12. So numbers 1 and 3 have to be open, so springs fully compressed. And maybe you can watch 1 and 3 here as I crank on the fan. You can probably watch them go down if the camera's not too shaky. And you can kind of feel the sweet spot when you're all the way to the bottom and they're just about to start coming back up. So we stop there. So with 1 and 3 open, we're adjusting 10 and 12. So we'll get the feeler gauge. Sorry for the shaky camera. So could use a little more resistance there. And on 12, pretty loose there. So we're going to adjust those slightly as well. So on to the next set. Check and adjust numbers 2 and 5 with numbers 8 and 11 open. All right, valves number 8 and 11 are fully compressed. So we're going to go back to the book and just confirm. I believe it's valves 2 and 5. So 8 and 11 open. Adjust numbers 2 and 5. Again, counting from the front of the car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 and 5 we're going to check. Grab a feeler gauge. 2 is pretty tight. 5 could be a little tighter, but not bad. Maybe we'll do a slight adjustment on 5. And the last set, we're going to check and adjust number 7 and 9 with numbers 4 and 6 valves open. Okay, and the last adjustment, we're looking at valves 7 and 9. So here's 7, not bad. And 9, also pretty darn good. So, I think we're done. Now, Bentley says to reverse the order and check. So, technically we could do that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to call that good. So I'm going to put the valve cover or the rocker cover back on. Incidentally, any TR6 owners out there, we're going to be doing valve adjustments periodically. These silicone valve cover gaskets are fantastic. They come in the aftermarket style or the stock style, so highly recommend it for TR6 owners. I've actually got them for, pretty much most of the TR series. So anyway, good investment. Alright, we got everything hooked back up, so I guess the next thing we need to do is just try it out to see if it sounds any better. So give me a second and we'll crank it up. Well, kind of hard to tell. These old Triumph engines are supposed to sound like sewing machines. It doesn't sound too bad. Could be a little quieter. Also have a bit of an exhaust leak from under the car, so that's not helping at all. So there it is. Another job down. On to the hardtop removal. Alright guys, just coming up to 9:30 and we're done for the night. We've got all the hardware unbolted to release the hardtop. And we've got the hardware to secure the soft top ready to go. But I'll have to wait for my neighbor Les to give me a hand with the hardtop. It's not too heavy, it's just a little bit unwieldy. And I've got to bring it inside and put it in the basement. So we'll wait till tomorrow to do that and hopefully get the soft top installed tomorrow. Alright, have a good night.